So the storyline that's emerging from this year's playoffs is Anton Khudobin of the Dallas Stars. And so I wanted to take a look at his career and how he got here and how proud I am of this guy because honestly, he's overcome a lot. And even now, you look up his stats and whatnot. His bio on TSN says mentions his height being a little shorter than what you'd think was ideal for an NHL level goaltender, and that he's wildly inconsistent. And inconsistency seems to be the one slam on his game that is why he's kind of bounced around. But his numbers have been pretty good. His numbers overall have been pretty good, especially considering he's drafted in the 7th round, another 7th round goaltender. This is why goaltenders, you can't really judge. You can't even judge when they're in their 20s, to be honest. A lot of the time, Khudobin's 34, so you just don't know. 7th round pick, 206th overall by the Minnesota Wild in 2004. So the draft after the 2003 draft. 5'11", 200 pounds. That's what he's currently listed as. And for the feel-good story that it is that he has helped Dallas get into the Stanley Cup Finals, stepping into the breach where Ben Bishop was, he's a pretty good goaltender. I don't know that he necessarily, coming out of this run, if he goes to the unrestricted free agent market, that he necessarily would get offered a starting job somewhere else. So let's go through his career and try to figure out why that would be. 2009-2010, he makes his NHL debut, plays 2 games for the Wild. He wins both, ends up with a .979 save percentage. 2010-2011, plays 4 games with the Wild. 2 wins, 1 loss, .942 save percentage. He's playing a lot in the American League. He plays some in the East Coast League before that, too. February 28th, 2011, he's traded to the Boston Bruins for Jeff Penner and Mikko Lehtinen. There you go. There's that trade. And then the Bruins, and you'd look at this and go, well, the Bruins fleeced him. They didn't tender him a qualifying offer. So when I talk about qualifying offers with restricted free agents, that means that if I say, well, I'm not going to offer you this amount of money that I need to in order to qualify, you can just be an unrestricted free agent. So he became an unrestricted free agent. Any team could have signed him instead of Boston retaining his rights. But being a nice guy, he re-signs with the Boston Bruins. And the Bruins, not known for necessarily being nice guys, they only play him the 1 game that following year. He wins it, and he saved 44 out of 45 shots, .978 save percentage. He was stuck behind Rask and Tim Thomas, so good luck breaking through that. 2012-2013, I do believe that was the year that Tim Thomas took off. Khudobin plays 14 games, ended up 9-4-1 with a .920 save percentage. I remember thinking, this Khudobin guy's not bad. He's not a bad goaltender. Boston was so enamored with him, they let him go to free agency, which was maddening for this Bruins fan right here. So 36 games played with Carolina after he signed July 5th with them as a UFA. In those 36 games, he ends up 19-14-1 with a .926 save percentage. I thought he looked great. I did. I thought he looked fantastic out there. I thought he was solid for Carolina. The one thing that comes up throughout his career, though, he does get hurt. He does get injured. It does happen. And that's one of those knocks that's on there, too, is what kind of consistency are you going to get, and is he going to get hurt? Following season, 34 games, 8 wins, 17 losses, 6 overtime losses, 900 save percentage, and it wasn't a great year for him. And I'm not going to try to sugarcoat. Not a great year for him. And stock dropped really, really just right out for him. The stock dropped right out for Khudobin. June 27th, 2015, so after the regular season was over, he was traded to Anaheim in exchange for James Wisniewski. So the Carolina Hurricanes add a defenseman. Anaheim adds a goaltender. It doesn't work out so well for him. Plays 9 games with the Ducks, 3-3 in 2015-2016, .909 save percentage. The interesting thing about that is December 14th, 2015, the Anaheim Ducks put him on waivers. They put him on waivers. And crickets. No teams took him. He ends up in the minor leagues. And to his credit, I've never seen Khudobin's agent come out and complain. I've never seen him come out and complain about a lack of games or lack of chances or getting waived. Not happening. So, July 1st, 2016, he signs as a UFA with the Boston Bruins, which I like that because, again, 2013, I wasn't happy Boston let him go. He plays 16 games that season, 7-6-1 record with a .904 save percentage. January 4th, 2017, during that season, Boston placed him on waivers. And I don't know if it was conditioning or what it was, but his numbers weren't great at that stage, and they were just trying to get him going and putting a guy on waivers. That's a way to get him going out the door, as far as I can tell. And nobody took him. So again, here we are talking about Khudobin and this great run to the Stanley Cup Finals. He's on the free agent or on the waiver wire January 4th. He didn't have an expensive contract, and no teams took him. So 2017-2018 plays 31 games for Boston, 16-6-7 record, .913 save percentage. Played the one playoff game where he took like 5 shots, ends up with a 1,000 save percentage, so awesome. But Boston rewarded him by letting him go to free agency and picking up Jaro Halak instead. And I'm not going to argue Halak was not an upgrade on Khudobin. Khudobin's .913 save percentage was good, but Halak was better once he got to Boston. So he signs with Dallas July 1st, and I've been happy with him in Dallas, and I think it's really worked out quite well for him in Dallas. His first year, 41 games, 16-17-5 record, .923 save percentage. That record, you can throw that out because honestly, and I said this last year and to some extent this year as well, it felt like the goal support wasn't there when he was in net. The .923 save percentage tells you he did pretty well, but the win-loss record shows you he probably didn't get a lot of goal support, which he didn't. Then in the playoffs, he made an appearance in one game, 1,000 save percentage for making the few saves that he had to. But Khudobin really didn't have a chance until this year. And the odd part is he plays 30 games this year, and of course it's a pause-shortened season. Like 12-13 was a lockout-shortened season. 16-8-4 record this year, .930 save percentage, which led the league. And even then, with this save percentage that led the league, when it was obvious Bishop was hurt and he wasn't going to be back for a while, right away people were like, well, without Bishop, the Stars are dead. In the playoffs this year thus far, 19 games, 12-6 record, .920 save percentage. When you get into the career totals, it's interesting because he's got 99 wins, 76 losses, 25 overtime losses, .919 save percentage. In the playoffs, 12-6 with a .921 save percentage. His save percentage in the playoffs has actually been lower this year than it was during the regular season. So he was better in the regular season than he's looked so far in the playoffs. And his regular season and playoff numbers, when you look at the save percentage side of it, are pretty close to identical. .921 to .919. And so he's a pretty good goaltender. I've been very happy to see what's happened with him thus far in getting to the Stanley Cup Finals. I do see the Tim Thomas comparisons coming up more and more. There are differences. Yes, Tim Thomas was also 5'11". Tim Thomas was listed as 201 pounds rather than the 200 pounds for Khudobin. Tim Thomas was viewed as not really being starter material, but Tim Thomas became the Bruins starter when he was 32 years of age. The big difference to me is that Khudobin kind of bounced around the league before finding a home with Dallas at 33 years of age last year. And Tim Thomas was in the Boston system, and Boston kept trying to replace him even though his numbers were pretty good because they didn't know that with the unorthodox style and just Tim Thomas being Tim Thomas if that was going to be enough for them. So they kept trying to find a different starter. To which I kept saying, you've got your starter, it's Thomas. And I've never had that feeling with Khudobin. So I can understand the comparisons. To me, they only come up to me because they both play an unorthodox style of goaltending and they come into their own in their 30s. I think that's where the comparison kind of sort of ends. I don't put Khudobin in the same category as Thomas. Thomas was one of the best goaltenders I saw for Boston. And yeah, Thomas, I thought, was getting hosed as an NHL level goaltender by the Bruins. I was honestly surprised that he didn't want out before they won a Stanley Cup because they kept trying to replace him, because they kept trying to find a starter. Well, they already had Tim Thomas. And his numbers were great. It's not like Thomas's numbers weren't good. It was just like somebody upstairs was going, well, yeah, his numbers are really good, but look at the way he flops around on the ice. We can't have a goalie that does that. We should go get another goalie. What's Manny Fernandez doing? Really? For how long? So we'll see how Khudobin does in the finals, but it's an interesting story. I thought, it makes sense that I would tell it since he spent time with Boston, back with Boston and with Dallas. And I was upset the first time he left Boston. I wasn't upset the second time. but I was happy he went to Dallas. I think he's a good goaltender. I think the inconsistency issues, they're there. They were there in Anaheim. They showed up that last year in Carolina. But the Anaheim season was 4 years ago now, and the Carolina season was 5 years ago. I think it's easy to sort of have that hang over him because you can then say, well, he's 34 and he's 5'11", and it's better if goaltenders are 6'2" and up. And there's definitely that mentality in the NHL. And this is why when people say, oh, I hope Khudobin gets a starting job next year, I don't think he does. I think wherever he goes, I think he'll still be seen as a backup, a 1B, and because he's 34 years of age, there's going to be a perception of, well, we can't really, we can't offer him a long-term deal. So I would expect this offseason, if he doesn't stay in Dallas, and I'd say the odds are probably 50-50 he stays in Dallas or ends up moving on, but he's probably not going to make as much money as people might be expecting coming out of a Stanley Cup Finals run, no matter what happens from here. And it's going to be interesting to see because he has, in my mind, been pretty consistent. He has, in my mind, been pretty good for a long time. But I can understand where some of the criticism comes from. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.